Desire never announces itself as a threat. It arrives quietly, as a preference, as a want, as something that feels harmless. This is why most people don't notice the moment desire takes control of their mind. They assume desire is natural, and it is. But what they fail to understand is this: desire is not dangerous because it exists. Desire becomes dangerous when it starts deciding for you. At first, desire feels like choice. I want this. I like this. I'll do this now. Nothing feels wrong. But psychologically, something subtle is already shifting. The mind begins to move from intention-based living to urge-based living. This shift is so gradual that it feels invisible. And that invisibility is exactly how control is lost. The human brain is designed to prioritize reward. When desire appears and is satisfied quickly, the brain learns a simple rule. This feeling matters. Act on it. Every repetition strengthens this rule. Over time, the mind stops asking whether an action aligns with values, goals, or long-term outcomes. It only asks one question: how fast can I feel relief or pleasure? This is the first sign that desire has begun to dominate. Not obsession, not addiction, but speed. When desire controls the mind, waiting feels unbearable. Delay feels like suffering. The nervous system interprets delay as loss. This is not weakness. It is conditioning. Modern environments are built to reward immediacy. Notifications, entertainment, validation, comfort. Desire is constantly triggered. And when it is constantly triggered, restraint becomes exhausting. Eventually, the mind stops resisting, not because it wants to give up, but because it wants peace. This is where people misunderstand themselves. They think they are choosing desire. In reality, they are choosing relief from tension. Desire creates tension. Acting on it releases tension. The brain learns to use desire satisfaction as emotional regulation. And once desire becomes regulation, control collapses. At this stage, desire no longer feels optional. It feels necessary. You don't say, I want this. You say, I need this. This is a crucial psychological transition. Need replaces choice. And when need replaces choice, autonomy disappears. Another effect of desire-controlled living is narrowed attention. Desire compresses focus. It pulls attention toward the object of craving and away from everything else. Long-term goals fade. Consequences feel distant. Alternatives disappear. This is why people often say, I don't know what I was thinking. They were thinking, but their thinking was hijacked. Desire doesn't eliminate intelligence. It redirects it. The mind becomes clever at justifying satisfaction. Rationalization increases. I deserve this. I'll stop later. Just this once. These thoughts are not lies. They are coping mechanisms. They exist to reduce internal conflict. When desire controls the mind, the brain prioritizes harmony over honesty. Truth becomes flexible. Standards soften, not because values change, but because maintaining them feels uncomfortable. Another silent consequence is emotional flattening. First, desire feels exciting, but over time, repeated satisfaction dulls sensitivity. Pleasure loses contrast. What once felt rewarding now feels normal. The brain adapts. This leads to a strange state where people chase stimulation but feel unsatisfied. They are not unhappy. They are understimulated internally and overstimulated externally. This contradiction creates restlessness. Restlessness fuels more desire, and the loop continues. As desire strengthens, tolerance weakens. Small discomforts feel intolerable. Boredom feels threatening. Silence feels empty. This is why desire-controlled minds fear stillness. Stillness exposes dependency. Without stimulation, the mind feels lost. This is also why people avoid being alone with their thoughts. Desire fills space. Without it, unresolved emotions surface. This is where many people mistake desire for motivation. They believe desire drives action, but psychologically, desire-driven action lacks endurance, collapses under friction. True motivation is sustained by meaning. Desire is sustained by immediacy. When desire controls the mind, meaning is replaced by momentum. You keep moving, but you don't know why. Another critical effect is identity erosion. When actions are guided by desire rather than values, identity becomes inconsistent. You become different versions of yourself depending on impulse. This inconsistency creates inner instability. You don't trust your decisions. You second-guess yourself. Confidence erodes, not because you lack ability, but because your behavior feels unpredictable even to you. This unpredictability is exhausting. It leads to anxiety. The mind is always on alert, anticipating regret. Another subtle change occurs in how people relate to time. The future loses weight. Consequences feel abstract. This is why desire-controlled living often coexists with procrastination. Why invest in tomorrow when today feels urgent? The mind begins to trade long-term freedom for short-term relief. And it doesn't feel like a trade. It feels like survival. Desire also alters emotional regulation. Instead of processing emotions, the mind escapes them. Sadness? Distract. Stress? Indulge. Loneliness? Stimulate. This prevents emotional maturation. Emotions remain unresolved. They resurface stronger. Desire becomes the primary coping mechanism. At this point, desire is no longer about pleasure. It is about avoidance. Avoidance of discomfort. Avoidance of stillness. Avoidance of self-confrontation. This is the deepest level of control, when desire prevents self-awareness. And this is why simply stopping rarely works. Removing desire without replacing regulation creates a vacuum. The mind panics. It reaches for substitutes. This is why people often relapse when they try extreme restraint. They remove desire without rebuilding structure. Another consequence of desire dominance is loss of authority, both internal and external. Internally, you hesitate. Externally, others sense instability. Not consciously, but intuitively. People trust those who respond, not react. Desire-driven individuals react. This weakens presence. Presence comes from internal alignment. Alignment collapses when desire dictates behavior. Perhaps the most damaging effect is loss of choice awareness. People believe they are choosing, but their choices follow predictable patterns. Same triggers, same responses, same outcomes. This predictability is not freedom. It is automation, and automation feels comfortable until it traps you. The mind adapts to desire-led systems quickly, but unlearning them requires patience. This is why awareness is the first step to freedom. Before desire can be weakened, it must be seen clearly, not judged, not suppressed, observed. When you observe desire without obeying it immediately, something shifts. You create space, and space restores choice. But that is the next step. This episode is about understanding the mechanism, not escaping it yet. Because freedom begins with clarity, and clarity begins when you finally see this truth. Desire is not the enemy, but a mind ruled by desire can never be free. When desire controls the mind long enough, another quiet shift takes place. The mind loses its sense of internal timing. Earlier, there was a natural rhythm to action. Pause, consider. But under the influence of desire, this rhythm collapses. Action skips pause. The moment an urge appears, movement follows. This is not impulsivity in the dramatic sense. It is collapsed decision space. There is no room to reflect, and without reflection, choice becomes illusion. This is why people often say they feel out of control only after the action is done. The awareness comes late, because desire accelerates behavior faster than consciousness can keep up. Over time, this speed becomes normal. Slowness feels wrong. Waiting feels like loss. The mind begins to associate control with discomfort, and discomfort with danger. This is a critical psychological misinterpretation, because control is not dangerous, but desire reframes it as deprivation. This reframing is subtle but powerful. It turns restraint into suffering, and suffering into something to avoid at all costs. This is where many people begin to resent discipline itself. They don't hate control. They hate how control feels after their nervous system has been trained by desire. Another deep consequence is value erosion. Values are not fixed principles. They are maintained through behavior. When desire repeatedly overrides values, the mind adapts by lowering the importance of those values. Not consciously, quietly. You don't wake up one day deciding your standards don't matter. You simply stop feeling the discomfort of violating them. This is how desire dulls conscience without removing it. The inner voice doesn't disappear. It just becomes quieter, easier to ignore, and once ignored enough times, it stops interrupting. This creates a strange psychological state. You are still aware of right and wrong, but you no longer feel compelled to align with it. This disconnection is deeply unsettling, even if you can't name it. It produces a low-level dissatisfaction that never fully leaves. Another overlooked effect is attention narrowing. Desire-controlled minds struggle with complexity, not because they lack intelligence, but because desire simplifies perception. It pulls focus toward immediate stimuli and away from layered thinking. Nuance disappears. Patience collapses. Deep reading becomes difficult. Long conversations feel tiring. This is why people under desire's control often prefer fast content, quick opinions, and instant conclusions. Their minds have been trained for speed, not depth, and depth requires restraint. This is also why boredom becomes intolerable. Boredom is not the absence of stimulation. It is the absence of novelty, and novelty is the fuel of desire. When novelty disappears, the desire-driven mind panics. It mistakes boredom for emptiness, but boredom is actually a doorway. It is the mind without immediate reward. A healthy mind uses boredom as a transition into reflection. A desire-dominated mind uses stimulation to escape it. This escape becomes automatic. Phone, noise, movement, anything but stillness. Stillness threatens desire's dominance, because stillness exposes dependency. Another long-term consequence is emotional shallowness. Not lack of emotion, but lack of depth. Desire amplifies highs and shortens lows. Emotions become quick and disposable, felt intensely, released quickly, never integrated. This prevents emotional learning. Pain is avoided instead of processed. Joy is consumed instead of savored. Over time, emotional maturity stalls. People remain reactive even as they age. This is why some individuals grow older without growing steadier. Desire preserved their immaturity. Another psychological shift occurs in how people relate to effort. Effort becomes threatening. Anything that does not provide immediate feedback feels pointless. This undermines persistence. Goals that require delayed reward are abandoned early, not because they are unimportant, but because desire has trained the brain to expect constant reinforcement. This is why desire-controlled minds often start many things but finish few. The excitement of beginning satisfies desire. The difficulty of continuation does not. Another subtle change is memory distortion. The mind remembers the relief of indulgence more than the cost. It selectively recalls pleasure and minimizes consequence. This bias reinforces repetition. This is not self-deception. It is neural prioritization. The brain remembers what it wants to repeat, and desire shapes memory. Another dangerous effect is loss of internal boundaries. Without restraint, the line between thought and action blurs. You act on feelings without checking alignment. This makes behavior unpredictable. Unpredictability creates anxiety. Anxiety increases desire for relief, and the cycle tightens. At this stage, people often describe feeling trapped. But the trap is not external. It is internal automation. Habits running faster than awareness. And automation feels safe until it isn't. The tragedy is that many people blame themselves at this point. They assume they lack character. But the issue is not character. It is conditioning. Desire has conditioned the nervous system, and conditioning cannot be undone with shame, only with awareness and patience. Another effect worth mentioning is social weakening. Desire-controlled individuals often struggle with boundaries. They over-explain. They overreact. They seek validation, not because they are insecure, but because desire has trained them to look outward for regulation. Internal regulation has been outsourced. This weakens presence. Presence comes from self-contained calm. Desire disperses calm, and when calm disappears, authority follows. Perhaps the most painful consequence is loss of self-respect. Not dramatic self-loathing, but quiet disappointment. You know you could respond better. You know you could choose differently, but you don't. And that gap between knowledge and behavior slowly erodes respect for self. This erosion is subtle, but it affects everything: confidence, voice, posture, decisions. You become smaller without realizing it. And the longer desire controls the mind, the harder it feels to imagine another way of living. This is the deepest illusion desire creates, that this is just how you are. But it isn't. It is how you have been conditioned, and conditioning can be reversed. But not yet, not here. This episode is not about escape. It is about recognition, because the moment you clearly see how desire operates, it loses some of its invisibility. And invisibility is its greatest weapon. When desire controls the mind, the greatest loss is not discipline. It is choice. Not the obvious kind, but the quiet, internal choice that happens before action. The choice to pause, the choice to wait, the choice to ask whether something truly needs to happen now. When that space disappears, life begins to feel rushed even when nothing urgent exists. People mistake this feeling for ambition, energy, or passion. But it is not. It is pressure. Pressure created by a nervous system trained to react instead of decide. This is why desire feels powerful. Not because it is strong, but because it operates faster than awareness. It bypasses reflection and speaks directly to action. And over time, the mind forgets that another way of responding ever existed. This is the quiet tragedy. Not that people make bad choices, but that they stop recognizing when they are choosing at all. They move, they react, they justify, and life keeps happening to them instead of through them. If this feels familiar, understand something important. This does not mean you are weak. It does not mean you lack intelligence. It does not mean you are broken. It means your mind has been conditioned by speed, stimulation, and relief. And conditioning always feels natural until it is seen clearly. This episode was not meant to fix anything. It was meant to slow perception down enough for recognition to occur. Because nothing changes until it is seen without distortion. Desire loses power the moment it becomes visible. Not defeated, not removed, seen. And once seen, it can no longer pretend to be your voice. What happens next is not force. It is not resistance. It is understanding how to create space again, between urge and action, between feeling and movement, between impulse and decision. That comes next.